There we go.
Okay, and welcome to our first of a long, hopefully long series of book reviews. I've been sharing a few books this week that have really helped me with my depression and helped me build tools, really. And over this weekend, I've been sent this wonderful book on stress as a kind of like a toolkit here. This is it. It's called Self-Help Toolkit for Anxiety and Stress. It is exactly what they say on the tin. I've read it almost a couple of times over the weekend, and my opinion is it's great that it's a little book. You know, so many things we have to read, whether we're a therapist, whether we're just looking to get to know our body, is about. It's like a Bible, you know. It's like a piece of furniture. So this is, you know, I'm not sure how many pages. There are 141 pages I see here. You can take it anywhere with you, and it just has so many things in it. You know, it has a really great model for what sort of questions you want to ask yourself when you're struggling. And it also works as a bit of a workbook as well. So having a workbook that's portable, how is that? That's great. So let's welcome the author of this stunning book to the My Beautiful Brain group, and let's find out what led her to write this book. Welcome, Hayley. Hayley Bennett is the author of this book, so let's just get to know and find out a little bit more about her. Hayley, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on here to talk. Thank you.
No, we're very excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about the sort of run up to this book. Obviously, I can tell that you're a therapist. So there's a lot of information in here, and I get the feeling that there's a lot of experience, your own life experience, that's gone into this. Can you tell us a bit about what's led up to that?
Yeah, it's my experience with or my whole background actually comes from, I was lucky enough, and I'm going to say lucky enough, to be introduced to the alternative world and the way of thinking at 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking, I'm 47 now, so you're talking a long time ago when people wasn't doing this stuff. It wasn't everywhere. And actually, a large part of my family used to take the mickey out of my auntie and say that she had a broomstick outside her room, in a very nice gesture where they very think, but you know, that's how it was looked at. And I had the experiences of having some of her treatments, and then my uncle become a therapist as well after him having cancer, and sort of fell in love with this stuff. But still being 15 and 16 was like, well, you know, I'm not going to do anything with that, am I? I've got to, you know, I was at school when they were telling me you had to be a secretary or work in the bank so I could have a mortgage. So it sort of was on the sideline, even though I loved all the stuff that they did. But at 19, I had a car accident, and I hit my head, had 15 stitches. They sent me off and told me I was going to be okay. But it was actually back in the time when they didn't realise that what they saw as a minor head injury causes long-term effects. They now know this, it's very different. It took about 3 years after my accident to actually realise that that was going on. And my brain had been bounced around in my skull when it got hit in its fluid, and it just kept hitting. So damaged actually internally, some different stuff. So I had a lot of problems, but because no one knew what was wrong with me, it was quite a stressful time. I was actually put into a mental home at one point because they just thought,
Whoa.
So we've just got someone coming to join us. Hi, welcome. So they said, because they didn't know what was wrong with me, they just said I was down and depressed, and so they put me in there. And I remember just feeling this wasn't right. I needed to figure out what was wrong with me. So actually took myself off a lot of the tablets that they were giving me and looked into alternative therapy, and really never looked back. And as I got better, I'd become a therapist myself. I'm a reflexologist and a shift creation coach, where I shift people's blockages from their past and their emotional things and help create a life that they want to live. And over the years, I just had really realised that more and more people were struggling with anxiety and stress. It was becoming more and more aware that life had changed through just the way our lives was. So I'd been working on all this stuff for ages. I had it as online courses and different things. And in lockdown, when I wasn't with my clients, as in my reflexology clients, I decided to take the time and allocated all the times I should have been with my client to make it into a book. And I wrote a book through lockdown. And this is how it's come to this. So I brought my courses and different things and techniques that I teach when I'm working with people, and then my background in the body and the reflexology, and then my background of understanding the brain, because there's different parts of mine that doesn't always, well, my recall doesn't always work very well when I'm under stress. So I had to learn that when stress affects the body, why I wasn't functioning properly. So it isn't just because I'm ill, we all have that. When we hit stress and anxiety and the world is busier, our body starts to shut down in different places. And when we become self-aware, we can then handle it. And that includes emotions, different things that's happening to the body. And that's really what the book's about. Like you said, there's bits in there that we really need to start asking ourselves and everything. So it's a combination of all my years of experience, and it's been I've been a reflexologist for 20 years now. So and then personally been doing it all now for like 28 years. So
wow.
Yeah, it's also
sorry, it's funny when you talk about stress, because it's such a broad terminology, and it's become so normalized, when someone's feeling a bit poorly or a little bit just under par, it's like, are you okay? Oh no, it's stress, it's fine, or maybe you go and see your doctor, oh, it's probably stress related, and we hear the word stress so much, that we don't really realize that, how fundamentally it changes the body.
Yeah, I mean, it affects the body in every way. I mean, as you'll see in the book, we talk about, it's like, let's understand it. And the body goes into fight or flight, which is, an amazing thing, that our response that our body has, because when we're in danger, and when it was originally, mainly probably created for when we were in the caves and the tiger was coming to attack us, it pumps the blood and oxygen to the brain and the muscles, and so we can think clearly, and then we've strength so we can attack and then run away. But why it does that, it shuts down every other part of the body. All the organs go to sleep, everything else isn't working properly. So why that happens, because we need it. But then when we're meant to run away, we're meant to calm back down on the curve and come back to normal. Life's so busy now that it's going at 100 miles an hour, and some stress happens, so we go up. We haven't got the tiger attacking us, but we've got something. And then when we drop, we're only dropping slightly. We're not coming right down, so we're staying up here. And as that keeps going on, it then kicks off another section in the body that starts sending a chemical to the brain. That thinks this is normal. We all think, oh, I can cope with stress and I can do 10 things at once. Aren't I amazing? And we're actually in a world where we're patted on the back for being able to do that. You know, you can have your career, you can be the best mum or dad, and then you can run a marathon, and then you can do this, and then you can do that, and aren't we great? But it's
Yeah.
all too much for the body, and the body then can't cope. The brain is then in this overload. This chemical becomes quite toxic, and then we get cloudy brains, and then we can't function properly. But because we're not dropping either, all the organs aren't working, and that's why we're getting more cancer, why we're having people with upset stomachs and IBS, and then, you know, tired and fatigued, because all those things aren't working. I mean, the adrenals is on complete overload, and we wonder why we're tired all the time. We wonder why we can't think clearly and make decision. You know, we're going around in circles. So it's about calming us back down, being able to cope and deal with our emotions, realizing what we're doing, and not expecting those issues that we've talked about before when we have a meltdown or not coping, is not expecting them to never happen, but to realize that if we are aware of them, we know the tools to get us out of it instead of spiraling completely down.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love your terminology of walking around in circles, because that is actually although it creates the picture of someone actually walking around in circles, it is a symptom, isn't it, from all of this, from overstress, from overthinking.
Yeah.
You know,
It might be a big circle,
yeah,
but we all do. If we're coming back to the same point, you know, doing the same thing, expecting a different answer, it's, you know, we are coming back. We might just go bigger, or we might. So we do have to stop and take a look at ourselves. And I'm not saying analyze everything, but what I'm talking about is just being aware.
Yeah. You hear this saying a lot, I really feel for people, because, you know, our stress and anxiety, you know, they're very good friends with depression. You know, they all kind of hang out together.
Yeah.
And I think as an individual, not as a doctor or a therapist or anything, but I think all of us as an individual need to come to the understanding that our bodies at some point need some kind of intervention from us.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, everything happens the wrong way around. You know, we're born with an abundance of stuff. You know, abundance of energy, abundance of youth, abundance of flexibility. We can pretty much eat what we want. And then as we get older, that kind of doorway gets narrower and narrower. And then, you know, we start to put on weight, we start to feel depressed if we're not getting proper exercises. And when I was really in the doldrums of it, I remember people saying, oh, can't you make friends with it? And I hated that. I just thought, oh, you just don't understand how bad I feel.
Yeah.
And it's a very kind of positive way of describing it. But what we're talking about in this book here is giving you the tools to create a structure that, despite the fact that you might not like that this could creep up again, not saying it will do, and I'm not saying to the same intensity, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. But to have a structure that when it comes up, I've got what I learned in this book, and then take it into your world and build a framework that, you know, okay, I always say to people, if you know the little events and the little feelings that lead you to the place of stress, that's the place where you want to start.
Yeah.
And I think this is such a great tool for that, because there are always times when we don't know what to do. You know, where we feel ourselves heading down the landslide, as it were, down the rabbit hole, and we're like, what do I do to prevent this? You know, I always say it's like when you get a cold and you know you're getting the cold, there's nothing you can do about it, but like times 100,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all need our little hooks and our little tools. And I think what you describe in this book so beautifully with an actual bodywork that you're very passionate about.
Yeah.
I mean, feet are a great thing for, you know, being misunderstood as far as, you know, we take care of our hands, we take care of our head, hopefully, you know, take care of our body. We all want that six-pack. But when do we like say, oh, I'm going to go and buy some foot cream, or I'm going to buy this, you know? And I know that the reflexology is a lot more than just hands and feet, you know?
Yeah, but if somebody touches their feet or their hands, because obviously it's on the hands as well, and massages it, you work over all those pressure points.
Yeah.
I mean, as you see in the book, I even give you some hand techniques to points to cope with that you can use while you're out, because you can, even if you're at work, you can hide it under the desk and nobody knows you're doing it. You know, kids can do it at school. They're great tools. So even if you just massage it, you work over all those pressure points and you're helping yourself, you know.
Yeah.
So and I think the biggest thing with the whole thing is for me, it's the more we have self-awareness, and I know this is the new thing everybody's saying, it is like self-care, self-love. I mean, no one wants to hear self-love, because that's like, oh, I'm not going to love myself, you know. It's not meant to be put into that, but it all equals the same, that when we are kind to ourselves and we accept who we are, and this was the biggest thing I had to go through from the accident, was I see it as I got married as well after the accident. So I was Hayley Poulton, who I was born as, and then I had the accident, wasn't great, got married and become Hayley Bennett. I was constantly trying to be Hayley Poulton again. I was going back to who I was before the accident. And I was trying to be someone I wasn't anymore. I had changed. I know I was 19 and I didn't want to admit that, but the minute I accepted what I could do, what I couldn't do, and who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, and I wasn't trying to do something else, the calmer everything was. The calmer my head was, all the side effects, how just generally happier I was in life. And this is the same nowadays, and a lot of stress and anxiety is coming out. Like stress is wanting a situation to be different, because we are stressed about it, because we want it to be something else it's not. So when I accepted who I was and what I liked, and nowadays there's a lot of pressure in having to do things, be out, be some way, look some way. We've created something, you know. How's the house meant to look when everyone's coming around to have dinner, or if someone's coming for coffee? It's meant to look nice, and, you know, there's all these different categories of people and everything. And that stress comes when you actually go, I don't really care, or I don't like doing that, so I'm not going to do it, you know. You become, yes, it's hard because you're breaking a pattern, but that's why, like, when the balance wheel and that comes in, when you start putting in the things that's yours and you create your own life and your own happiness, you're not trying to be. So when things come that aren't great, because there is things, I mean, we can't stop someone else getting ill or dying, or just, you know, when that's happening, or someone becoming ill and having to deal with it, you know, sudden things that do happen, but we can cope better with them because everything else isn't so bad. So I cope better with my head when there's certain situations that's better. So I've had to put all these tools and everything into my life to keep me to be upright, because when I had the accident, they told me as much as they said it was a minor head injury at first, when they looked into it and we found people, they were like, I'm not sure you can work. I'm not sure you'll get up every day and function. So I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to hold a job down. And that's what they were telling me in my 20s. So, yes, I run my own business, and I've now created something that there's days where I don't have to get up early. If I know that there's a situation and it's busy, I'm not going to put in an early appointment, because that's going to put me more stress when I've got more things going on. So I control that. And I do things that is right for me, that help me, so it's about being nice and kind to yourself. And yes, we don't want to hear this, and sometimes putting ourselves first. And when I'm having a bad day or struggling, like we all struggled through lockdown, and I make out that it was wonderful that I wrote this book, and I had months before going, my business. Another lockdown, and I was getting angry with people going, stop going out doing things, you're wrecking my business. There was all that going down, and I was having many meltdowns, and I was sitting in my bedroom crying, going, what am I going to do? But when I took that away and I looked at it, what is it? Okay, this is fear, this is this. And when I looked at it and I faced it and asked some of the questions that are in the book, I actually then could find out exactly where I am, what I need to do, and how can I move on. And so the process is the same with if it's just general stuff or it is anxiety and stress. We all need to be doing this,
Your story is fantastic. I mean, I think, it solidifies a belief I've always had, that when it comes to serious injury, which it sounds very much like your car accident was, we need more than just the scans and the doctor's visits and the medication and things like that. It's a deeply traumatic time, and I think if it's not dealt with appropriately at the time, it will get suppressed. It will come up as other things. It will, so, and we do have a health service, especially at the moment, that is awfully stretched, so having a combination of, obviously you do need that to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
But having a combination of things like the reflexology, some sort of talk therapy, which I'm sure you do, but then the knowledge that, once you clear blockages from the head, they tend to get stuck in the body somewhere.
Yeah.
And then something like a reflexology or another holistic form of treatment will help that. But otherwise, you're just kind of moving the trauma along.
Yeah.
It's not really being dissipated at all. And I really picked that up in what you said, but also in your chapters of explaining things. I mean, you've really thought about this. We hear things like fear, we hear things like stress, we hear things like, I did a great chapter that you did on gratitude.
Yeah.
And what I love is the way that you actually dissect the word and explain what that really means and what it means for you, and what it has meant for you in your life.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, when we use words and they become such buzzwords, then they start getting used for other meanings, and it gets very complicated. Like yin and yang was a very, very, there's a theory behind it, but you hear people, like describing yin and yang to do with cars, to do with animals, to do with finance, and it kind of loses its meaning. And I think gratitude is one of those things that it's such a big word, but when it's boiled down, it's just being thankful for what you have.
Yeah.
And that things could always be worse.
Yes, and it is the most simple thing sometimes. And I know it sounds like, oh, for God's sake, but when you start looking at the small things that you're grateful for, yes, it could have been, and excuse my language, a really, really shit day, you know, and everything could have gone to pot. But there was still actually, I stopped and saw that, the sun was shining today, and I am grateful for that. And I'm actually grateful, like when I'm having a bad day, I call them wobbles or whatever you want to call them. When I'm having a bad day, I'm generally grateful that like I got up and got dressed. I got up, I got dressed, and I'm actually grateful that by the end of the day, I've done, I don't know, 3 things. Because, or I done one thing for whatever, or
Small
because,
victory.
yeah, it doesn't really matter. You can just be, okay, well, that was a bad day, or realizing, oh, look, this isn't looking good. It's not going to be a good day. So I'm not going to pressure myself, If I don't stop and accept it's not going too well today, or there's something else is going to happen, and I'm going to have I'm going to be late for the appointment. I'm going to, drive too fast, or I'm going to hit someone when I'm in the car, or I'm going to drop something and it's going to break, because you're so frustrated. But as soon as you accept those things, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to remember it. For me, when I'm not having a bad day and I'm not functioning, my brain is not functioning. When it's bad, I can know I need to get out of bed and get dressed. But the recall and that actually happening doesn't always work. So I stand there going, I need to get dressed. I really know I need to get dressed. And I know what I should be doing, but the brain and that doesn't connect everything together. So it could take me quite a long time to get dressed. I'm really glad that I done it, because I made it and I didn't have to go back to bed. So I accept those things, and I know that's quite drastic, and that is when I'm not in a really good place. But it is going back to, instead of going, oh my God, I got nothing today, well, actually getting dressed was such a big thing for me. I'm really glad I done it. I'm really glad that, I done something else. So it's accepting good and bad days, I think, which is the hardest thing, because we're meant to be okay doing everything all the time. But it's not life. It really isn't life.
Yeah, you can never be all in with
No.
anything. I really hate this phrase, I'm all in 24/7, I'm over 100%. There's no way you can be well over 100%. It's just all this kind of bravado talk, and get
Yeah.
you sort of going and stuff. But what I love
And some of
about,
it is their personality as well. You have to accept that. I have clients and they're like, and I need this and this and this and this, and then they're frustrated that they're not able to meditate and sit down. And it's like, do you have ADHD? And they go, well, I think so. It wasn't well, you can't expect to be doing something when you have a condition. Like I can't expect, like my partner has ADHD. I can't keep up with him. I love him. I cannot keep up with him some days. And I have to go, whoa, all right, off you go, because we're different. And then another time, like him sitting down and meditating, he wants to, and he does try, but he starts fiddling because he's got ADHD and he can't sit there, and he's so I couldn't get annoyed with him and say, you got to sit still, because it's who he is. And it's, again, accepting. And we're all trying to put ourselves into a box. And we're not a box. We're not. None of us are. So find who you are, what you are, and work with that. That is the biggest key I've found. And that helps when we start to really, understand that. It takes off some pressure.
absolutely, and at the end of the day, we are in control of what we tune into.
Yeah.
So there will be thing, I have ADD, so I've had to learn that it's not a affliction. It's almost a super strength.
Yeah.
And you learn how to use it, and when you can train yourself to go into that hyper focus at the right time,
Yeah.
It's fantastic, but also there's a lot of stuff about, we live in a world where it's very hard not to be ADHD because there are so many distractions and they're all bright flashing lights here, there, and the whole thing of responsibility, we promise someone this or we promise them that, knowing thyself is a big thing, and it has many different levels. And I think coming back to the book is, if you are struggling, if you don't know why you're struggling, or if you just don't know not who to ask, but the questions to ask, we've got a great book here. And, Hayley is a member of our group. And, if you would like to reach out to her and see what she's up to, and if she can be the right fit for you, please feel free to use this group. This is what this group is for. I told you before, it's like Yelp for mental wellness.
Yeah.
We want to put you in touch with the people that have been through it, have experience, and have the right integrity of trying to help you, rather than the people that just a lot of Google stuff.
I'm so sorry, my dog barking away there.
So thank you so much for joining.
Does Fiona have any questions?
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? There she is.
Hi, Hayley. Hi, Toby.
Hi. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Apologies for being a bit late. Apologies for that. So I missed the very beginning, but I'll rewatch it. But no, I really, really enjoyed listening to you speak, and I'm just sort of resonating with everything you said, and and I think just to reiterate, really, I think because I've been, Toby knows this, I've been feeling, I found the last few months in particular personally just really challenging, and really high stress and all of that, and I think it's so easy to even add to that by thinking, oh right, I need to be drinking more water, or I need to be doing this, and then I'm not doing that because I actually just want a cup of tea and to sit quietly. So it's also allowing, so I'm teaching myself, and I'm really keen to look at your book, and I love what you're saying, because it's many, for me now at the moment, it's many things. It can be a walk in the park, just sitting quietly, having that cup of tea. It's okay if I haven't drunk 2 pints of water or two. There's the should list, then there's the what I want to do list. And so it's kind of recognizing that I'm stressed. It's okay, I am stressed, not trying to think, well, like you were saying, well, I shouldn't be. But also, actually, sorry, I won't talk for long.
No, it's fine.
Something I came across this morning as well. It was a little, scrolling through social media, which is another noise, isn't it? And hard to sometimes disconnect from. But actually, I heard something really valuable, which was a reminder. Sure, we all know it, but a reminder that often when we're feeling stressed and fearful, we're in the past or we're in the future. We're panic. Whereas if we can just come to the now, there's no tiger at the door, there's no tax man at the door, there's no whatever it is. This minute I'm okay and I'm safe, and if I have to care for this to go through to the next minute, to the next minute, to the next minute, and it will be okay somehow. I have the strength to make it okay, because it's sometimes we lose confidence when we're down as well, don't we, that we have that ability to overcome and deal with whatever in life is challenging us.
And the biggest thing, like what you were saying, we're in the past, and the thing we go in, and that's in the book as well, the automatic negative thoughts, which we call NATs, and we start going around and we slip into, well, I should have been doing, or coming up from the past, that I'm not good enough, well, you can't do that, so why are you doing this? See, every time you try and do this, it goes wrong, and see, you're not drinking your water like you should be, and and we go into all these things, and it's just like, that's just, and they're the things that we can start looking at and going, okay, is that really real? Is that, yes, I get that's from, and then that's where it does, and I'm not just telling myself, but this is the start of looking at it. And then when I do my shift therapy, we can clear things from the past and things like that. But generally, the book is about how just looking at it and going, when I'm thinking that, is that true? And then you go into positive, but you can go way too far, because, say we're in example, and I think it's in the book, of nobody likes me, or did, because things aren't, or I don't get invited somewhere to learn, then you can be over positive, going, well, everybody loves me. And the brain will start going, well, that ain't true, is it? So then you just drop back in. So if you can find something realistic, it's like you're saying, it's bringing yourself back to the now. What is real? What is realistic? That's where we are.
Yeah.
And it is okay, we're not all perfect. And, even me and Toby, just because you're therapists or you're practitioners or whatever, doesn't mean we do, it doesn't mean we do yoga for an hour every day and then meditate for an hour. I don't have the time to do that. There is days I can do it and there is days I don't. And there's days I just literally pick my cup of tea up in the morning and don't pick my phone up and just breathe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I call it the tea meditation.
Oh, I like that.
And you just go, it doesn't matter if it's tea, coffee, it doesn't matter what hit you're having while you're doing it, just pick your cup up, don't pick anything else up, and just breathe. And one of the questions in the book is, how do I want my day to be today?
Yeah.
And it gives you something to focus on. Okay, and that's it. This is a meditation, that couple of minutes of stopping, breathing, being aware. Okay, I'm feeling anxious. Okay. What do I need to do? Okay, and either it is, right, this isn't going too well, I need to be kind to myself today. I mean, being kind is the most, and that is what we're not. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be like, I should. Should is, I hear it so many times.
Yeah.
Or I will.
I will. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I will. I'll do that. And then you don't. You're like, oh, God, I didn't do that. And that is just a self-perfection beat up as well. We're amazing of getting something and just smacking ourselves over the head with it, aren't we? We just, are in these circles, but it's going, no, actually, it is okay. It is tough.
Well, I think just a quick one is to praise I think we don't praise ourselves. So like you were saying earlier, if that day is getting up, getting dressed, and maybe doing a couple of other things, but it's a real low-key minimalist day, but still within it praising ourselves for whatever it is that we've done, even if it's that, gosh, I feel better today than I did a week ago. Haven't achieved much, but actually I'm still on the right trajectory. And if I'm not tomorrow, that's okay too, because it's not a constant, is it?
No.
Because also if you look at a child and if a child draws you a picture, we always hopefully say, God, that's wonderful, well done. Then they're pumped up, ready to do another one, or maybe they've done a little task, and that's probably a better example. You praise them, they want to do it again, and they get confident. Whereas if it's a constant, if it's like, well, that's not good enough, you didn't do that very well. I mean, can you imagine if we could, the way we speak to children, if we spoke to ourselves
in the same way?
Look it there and think, God, no, I wouldn't speak to a child like that. Why am I speaking to myself like that?
Yeah, we had it when my son was younger, and as we go over, we sit down and we have a thing at dinner time and that, and it's like, how was your day today? Like, what did you do? Oh, what, that was brilliant, and we would always like, what's been good today? What's been great? And you go, oh, not really that good, or this went wrong, and we'd talk about it, and not always at the time, because if it's not a good thing, but later on it's a bit like, you're not going to do that one again, are you? You've learned from that. And that's a positive.
Yeah.
It could have been something really bad, but if you take from it, we've got a positive. Not because we're all fairies and jumping around. We're not. But do you know what it is? Again, it's being kind. It's like, yep, I messed up on that. I messed up big time. But okay, I'm going to learn from that and not do that one again. So there is all that, just being, you do need to praise yourself. You need to pat yourself on the back, have celebrations, dance around the kitchen when you do something well. You give a kid a sticker, don't you, when they've done well, when they've done something, like when they've had their piano lessons, and, you do it, dance around,
I mean, we do it for our dogs, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they get treats all the time, don't they? You know, they do something, and that never stops.
Yeah.
Do we? You know, they get old, we don't stop treating them because they've done well and they've come to us when we call them, or they sat at the curb. You know, they get lots of loving and praising. You know, we need to do it to us.
Yeah.
And help, ask for help. You know, community and talking. And when you're having a bad day, don't be embarrassed, and don't feel, well, you know, is talk and go, I know I'm having a bad day, but I'm feeling like this. Even if you go, I know it's not true, but this is how I'm feeling, and the other person goes, yep, you know it's not true, you've done really well today, A, B and C. By talking about that, you're taking yourself out of that spiral. And I've been doing this for years, and I can still go into self-doubt. I'm just quicker at pulling myself out of those self-doubts. And I would even go, where's this one come from? I know this isn't true. But that negative thought can still go bing. But because I work on it more, it's easier to go, yeah, I'm coming out of that one because it's not true.
Yeah, in a way, it's just like building a muscle, like a stronger muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, I get that. I've got that my whole life. I've just walked under a bridge, and someone sent me a text or something like that. And by the time I get to the other side of the bridge, I'm like, wow, my mood has changed. My posture has changed. You know, what happened? Trace it back, and I think, well, that's not worth that reaction. But you know, you've got to kind of, you've got to be your own reasoner in a way.
Yeah.
You've got to reason with yourself. You can't say this feeling just came up, it must be so. Well, certainly for me, as I get older, I have to do it more and more and more. But I'm really glad I've built the mechanism to do that, because that what would really constitute another duvet day. You know, I just don't care.
I had a client that called out, and she's calling up about her daughter that's suffering with lots of different stuff. And obviously she's just as stressed because she's dealing with her very young teenage daughter, not even sort of, you know, sort of 12, 13. And I said, the upside to all this is that you're giving your daughter help and the tools at 12. Yes, it's horrible to watch, but if we can pass that on to our children, so everything we learn, we pass on to people, this is now that when she hits our age, she will know how to deal with it. Yes, we're seeing a lot more kids, and it is horrible watching these kids go through it, but they're learning at a younger age because they're in an environment where they can express it, and they will cope through life instead of trying to deal with it like we all are later on in our lives. I mean, and each time it's getting, you know, it's got lower and lower. Like I said, when I was 15, talking about this stuff was just non-existent, absolutely non-existent when I was introduced to it all. So, you know, nowadays kids are coming up, they're hearing about it, they're hearing about the word mindfulness and all those stuff and being grateful, you know, and growing up with it. So we're creating generations that it will become everyday life. We're just on that changeover, and part of it, which is amazing.
Yes, I think this is a great step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, do you have any other questions, or shall we?
Thank you very much for joining us today, Hayley, and look forward to doing some stuff with you in the future. Yes.
Yes, definitely. We can do some chats and
yeah. Well, we'll talk. We'll certainly talk about that. But yes, let's just close this interview down now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, or who is watching this on the replay. Please feel free to add your comments and questions, and I'm sure Hayley would be ever so pleased to answer them for you.
Yes, definitely. That'd be
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Nice to meet you, Fiona. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.